Phoebe, Otago University political scientist Brian Roper said this week's CTU rallies might be seen by future historians as the beginning of the end of the honeymoon period of this government, as low-income workers begin to feel the impacts of this month's GST increase and the employment law changes. Labour's step to the left is smart politics, isn't it?
I think it is. I mean, I think that the rallies are remarkable. You know, 15,000 people around the country. I eat my words. I was saying just a few weeks ago that it would, you know, be remarkable if they did actually manage to get that amount of people out on the streets.
People are angry. People are angry.
In terms of Phil Goff's speech, I actually think that was, you know, very well positioned. I didn't really agree that it was so much based on a shift towards left politics. I thought it was actually based on a shift towards kind of a form of nationalism that you tend to get in economic recessions. You know, since Don Brash's Orewa speech, everyone has been trying to emulate that kind of perfect, I guess, kind of sort of slightly riling the redneck speech, okay, because Don Brash got a 30% rise in the polls after that.
So Goff's trying to rile the pink necks. He's trying to get the pink necks.
No, well, I think, you know, this is kind of perfect timing after the Paul Henry thing to talk about, you know, the foreign ownership of farms. You know, Labor know they're not going to get any votes from that particular sector of the community, but they know that there are a lot of working class people that are not sure about foreign ownership. And for me, I think that it was kind of pitched into getting that audience, and you know, this really is a sort of rise in nationalism that you do see during recessions. Okay, you're seeing it in Germany at the moment, where you've had the idea that multiculturalism is actually dead, okay, becoming prominent, and this is something that's happening around the world at the moment. I think it kind of tapped into this notion that we need to be kind of more nation focused, but I also think it tapped into you know, perhaps some of the voters that Labor hasn't been able to reach otherwise.
Phoebe is exactly right on that issue of nationalism coming into it. I think Labor has positioned across, you've seen expressions in the left strategies, but also in that centrist area of ground that was once the domain of New Zealand First. And it's out of Parliament. Obviously it's going to campaign for Parliament next time round, but Labor is occupying that. The farms issue is a perfect example.
Selwyn, one of Karl Rove's attack strategies that so enabled George W. Bush was to make your political enemy's strength their weakness. John Key is non-ideological. That's one of his strengths. By moving to the left, Labor are forcing Key to engage in a battle on ideology. Will watching John Key defend the free market while the economy stagnates earn him voters?
Well, it could be a double-edged sword for both, in a sense. If it exposes a lack of political nous and strategic direction and leadership inside John Key's fold, well, then that's a bit win for Labor. But remember, too, that ideology often turns the public off. If it's just boring, old ways of left and right politics, the public aren't into that. We've got a whole new generation of people here, for example, that do not see things in a left or right sense. They see things of, well, what is going to work for me here? And that's Labor's challenge, to try and frame it in a sense that captures the left and centre-left areas of the political axis, but also to make sure they deliver real solutions to the problems that are biting people. The key to that is connecting to the people.
Right.
If Key, on the other hand, continues to connect, well then, you know, it's anyone's guess.
Right. Phoebe, the desire to destroy student unions, the union movement as a whole with the 90-day right to sack and mining conservation land is driven by the fringe hard right of National and Act. If support for National starts to ebb away, will Key move to the centre without it looking like a back down?
Of course he would. You know, this was part of National strategy, that you have John Key out the front. He does the classic flip-flop, oh, you know, I kind of agree, I kind of don't. And he manages to distance himself from everyone in the party and the policy that's going on. I think that National, you know, for a long time, both parties have been very oriented towards what are the issues that voters will vote on. Sorry, that came out wrong. But, you know, this is about popularity, I think, in terms of dictating policy, and that's something that National have demonstrated before.
Question to both of you. Can John Key's politics of optimistic aspiration work in a recession? As voters feel the reality of the GST rise above the tax cut offset, Key's promise that voters would be better off starts looking more and more vacant, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Optimism obviously has a factor in keeping the economy buoyant in the sense, and the optimism factor is very crucial to that.
Bullshit.
But it is crap when it actually starts to come through and it shows in the public's purse that they haven't got as much coin as they once did. All of those issues, all of those points that you raised there, Bomber, are ones that will eat into National's decisions.
Yep.
You know, that they have to face the consequence of those decisions. It may be now, it may be after 2011, but it's going to bite.
Can politics, the politics of aspiration work in a recession?
I would agree with Selwyn. I think it is beginning to bite, and I think Christchurch is going to be another issue as well that's going to come back to bite later. You know, that you've had Brownlee take over, and, you know, there's some very unhappy people down there, and, you know, that's also going to kind of fester. I think in terms of the aspirational politics, we also have very aspirational economic news. I mean, we're just seeing this week, I mean, pretty much most economists around the world have been predicting a W recession, right? In New Zealand, it's been no. We've got the grass, you know, grassroots. It's all going great. It's all going great.
Yep.
And now we're beginning to get the articles that are saying we're actually in a much more fragile position than we previously thought. So I would agree with Selwyn. I mean, it's going to carry them over to some certain extent, but the idea that we've already got 15,000 union workers on the streets protesting is something that really hasn't happened in New Zealand for a long time.
That really shows, I think, the problems there that the government has in this disattachment area. You know, but certainly, you know, I agree with you totally in that respect too, that the economy is going to be engineered by forward-thinking policy in a sense. And I say that because I do believe Labor is right in presenting an economic policy platform that is interventionist, and it will be manufactured to a degree. How New Zealand positions itself will determine how hard it will hit when that second W comes in.
Who wins, who loses by Labor moving to the left?
Well, I think the public benefits if there is a connection with the community. If that is how one defines the left or centre-left position, well, then there's great benefits to be had from that.
Who wins, who loses by Labor moving to the left, Phoebe?
Well, I think Labor wins, don't they? I mean, this is the first time that Gough has really come out quite strongly, or, you know, come out as, you know, having some kind of substance, I guess. You know, not to say that he doesn't have substance, but he just doesn't translate in the media. So I think Labor certainly wins. In terms of Selwyn's comments, I think, you know, the public do win to some sort of extent. This is a democracy. There should be some kind of debate.
They get a full choice, don't they? Yeah, an actual choice this time.
And the amount of policies that have been going through under urgency, this debate is clearly needed.
Thank you, panel. Coming up, Anatoly versus the teachers. Who gets an apple for teacher and who gets a detention? Citizen A is back after the break.